Welcome back to another episode of Light Beer, Dark Money. I'm Sean Noble.
And I am Chris Clements.
And
we are back in the studio.
Yeah, over the course of the next few weeks, there's going to be a number of episodes that drop that we recorded in D.C. last week.
Yep.
We've actually had one already, Carafano.
Yeah, with Dr. James Carafano, the Heritage Foundation.
Talking about
And what are we calling those episodes? Like, it should be like a theme, don't you think?
Theme?
Yeah. Lost in D.C.
Lost in D.C., that's probably...
Or gaslighting in D.C. It seemed like our theme, I was thinking about this earlier.
Gaslighting from D.C.
Gaslighting from D.C. Because our theme that entire time, we had 4 or 5 guests talk about the gaslighting of the Biden administration.
Yes.
And the conservative industrial complex. I was listening to our episode that we're going to be releasing here with David Schweiker. And in fact, when this episode is released, it should have already been released. But big discussion on the conservative industrial complex.
Yeah.
Which was in full force the last 24 hours.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, let's talk about the last one. I mean,
Yeah,
so
it's been a crazy 24 hours.
We have Hunter Biden has cut a plea deal, and
I mean, can you believe it?
By the time you hear this episode, you will have heard or have the opportunity to hear the episode with Andy Biggs.
Yeah.
And in that episode, he talks about this FBI 1023 document, which I said on the podcast that if it's true, the Biden presidency is over. That's explosive stuff.
It's explosive, but I think I remember saying on the podcast too that you got to get those tapes. You got to release the tapes from the Ukrainian oligarch who has 17 recordings or 15 recordings.
Right.
And only then is the press and the general public going to really pay attention.
Right.
Because right now, the way the left is framing the Hunter Biden slap on the wrist plea deal, whatever you want to call it, where, he's going to get to go to drug treatment and even be able to own a gun in 2 years if for a charge that if you and I lie on a federal form, applying for a gun, we can go to jail.
Yeah.
And I
but
think
let's be honest.
The minimum
would we likely go to jail? Probably not. But there are people who have gone to jail.
Yes.
They just happen not to be white.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so yeah.
Well, and they have their name is in Biden.
Well, clearly, but I don't.
Well, not only was he using cocaine and using this gun, he apparently threw it away in a. His girlfriend at the time, Beau Biden's widow, Haley Biden, took the gun to a supermarket and threw it in the trash.
Oh, is she the one who took it to the supermarket?
Yes.
Interesting.
So the whole thing is so convoluted. So that's a charge just unto itself.
It's illegal to throw a gun
Well,
away?
it's a reckless endangerment. Yeah, you can endanger the general public.
Okay.
So it's just amazing.
And
none of it touches on, of course, the laptop
from
hell.
The left reaction is, oh, look, was Trump's U.S. attorney is the one who's, prosecuting him. Clearly, this is not, this is legit. And now the Hunter Biden story is over.
Yeah.
They're trying to say, oh, this is it, all done.
Well, the U.S. attorney is saying the case is still pending.
Yeah.
We'll see. And we'll see what the judge does.
Right. And
with the plea.
And you still have what's going on in Congress that Andy Biggs talked about with the document, the 1023 and the investigation. And, Comer and Jordan, Congressman Comer and Congressman Jordan are still investigating this stuff.
They're not going to let up, especially with this. This just adds fuel to the fire. Now, there's one thing that I don't think anybody's really discussing that is getting missed in all this. He is pleading guilty. And so the president can't go running around saying anymore that my son did nothing wrong.
Right.
My son is
That's
innocent.
A great point.
He's being unlawfully prosecuted.
Yeah.
No, obviously your son did do something. To the degree you want to debate that, that's fine. Let's do that. And that's going to be an open question in the election. A major open question in the election. You said your son did nothing wrong. Well, we disagree with the plea, Mr. President. However, if you want to go down that road, by the way, he did a lot wrong.
Yep. Yeah.
And should
so
be serving jail time.
Here's the
Because
thing
everyone out there, you would be serving jail time.
here's the thing that bounced out at me. So he makes $1.5 million over 2 years and does not pay his taxes to the tune of $200,000.
Yeah. Somebody paid his taxes for him.
But wait a minute. His tax bill is only $200,000 on $1.5 million?
It should be higher.
I think something is amiss.
Yeah.
That's a really low number.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
less than 20%.
Yeah. And that's it.
Don't we want the rich to pay more? Isn't this
No,
argument?
we don't want them to pay more. I don't want them to pay more.
No.
I mean, they pay more because they make more.
They need to pay their fair share.
But he's definitely paying less than a lot of other people are paying that make less than 1.5 million.
Well, of course.
I make less than 1.5 million over 2 years, and I pay more in taxes than $200,000 over 2 years.
Well, and then the question becomes, where did he get the money? What is it from? Where did he make 1.5 million from? A drug addict, discharged.
Well, where did he make 1.5 that they can find?
That they can find. That's not in this LLC or that LLC or whatever LLC you want to look at.
Yeah.
How many LLCs were there that Comer talk about?
I don't know.
Like 20.
There's a lot.
And the fact that all this went down on the gun charge I remember this clearly, with Beau Biden's widow. Like, have you no shame?
Well, no, he doesn't have any shame.
Well,
That's
I mean,
obvious.
both of them. Have you no shame?
Well,
and I remember the Bidens making a statement when that all came down, like, we support our son and we support. I'm like, this is just the most bizarre thing I've ever heard. I thought that would be the last I'd hear of Hunter Biden, because there's a lot of people who actually like Beau Biden. He had a decent reputation back in Virginia and Maryland, and he was very well liked in some circles that I know of.
Sure.
And Hunter was the redheaded stepchild.
Yeah.
Forever. So much so that the Daily Wire is reporting that an elitist LA sex club bans its founder after he said Hunter Biden was a former member. Imagine that.
Yeah.
You have to pay $75,000 a year to be a member, apparently, and the price is utmost silence.
Really?
Yep. That's on the Daily Wire.
Wow.
Top of the page.
Wow.
Like you can't. It just keeps spiraling down into the hole in the ground where we hide.
Okay, so a couple other things. One, Brett Baier did an interview with President Donald Trump,
where Donald Trump gave the prosecution basically everything on the silver plate. Here you go.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
Here you go. Here you go. If you want everything, I've got it here for you.
I mean, he did not do himself any favors.
No.
At all. He basically admitted that he was ignoring the subpoena, and he knew he was ignoring the subpoena because he didn't want his stuff to be given away. It's like, well, then go through the boxes. Don't talk about it. Do it. If you think you've got stuff in there that's yours, then go get the stuff.
The amount of stuff in terms of things that could harm our country, all joking aside, that was in those boxes is unbelievable when you read the elements of the indictment. And I think I forwarded it to you. I read a great op-ed piece in Free Press by Bill Barr, and I think he's getting it right. Like his take on this, I think, is from a conservative perspective. Whether you support the president or not, here are the facts.
Right.
Here's what I did to try to protect the president and fight for him in the last administration. But this is something that he just can't avoid. He's done it to it himself yet again.
Yeah.
He could have avoided all this just by giving it back.
Right. And he had plenty of time. I mean,
he had a year and a half.
And he says to Brent Baier, "Oh, I'm very busy." well, you know what? If this stuff is that important, then you shouldn't be that busy. I mean,
You're obviously not busy enough to lay out boxes upon boxes upon boxes in the Mar-a-Lago ballroom
right.
for anybody just to peruse through.
It just, the whole thing is,
And in the Mar-a-Lago bathroom, you see that picture?
yeah.
Oh my
And
gosh.
of course, only in Mar-a-Lago would you have a chandelier like that in a bathroom.
Yeah, well,
Good night. That's crazy.
yeah. He's big on chandeliers.
He likes chandeliers.
Yeah. If you stay at the former,
He's big into gold. Gold is so passe.
yeah, if you stay at the former Trump in Washington D.C., there's a lot of gold, a lot of chandeliers.
Yeah, gold is so 80s.
It's now the Waldorf Astoria, and I would call
Maybe
it
the
now the
70s.
frump, because the clientele has gone from very, very pretty to not so much.
Well, it is what it is.
Because the Democrats are back staying there. They're like, well, we can stay here now.
Yeah. Yeah, they certainly didn't before. Let's see, what was the other thing I wanted? So we talked about Trump, talked about Biden. Oh, Alito.
Oh, yeah.
So our friends at Pro Publica,
Pro Publica,
who had done a big hit piece on Clarence Thomas a few weeks ago, have now done a hit piece on Samuel Alito. Chris, I'll tell you this.
This is your wheelhouse.
I feel honored to be in the same sphere as Justice Thomas and Justice Alito, as someone who has been attacked, targeted by Pro Publica.
Did they win a Pulitzer on yours?
That's a good question.
I have to go back and look at that. I don't
need
think
to
I've ever seen that.
I don't know if they did or not.
Yeah.
But, and I
what
don't
a
know.
bunch of hacks.
They are hacks. The piece they wrote against me was 7,000 words. I'm not sure how long the one on Thomas was or Alito. I'll have to go look. But as I was told by people at the time this happened to me in 2014, I must be doing something right. And so I will say to Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito, you must be doing something right to be attacked like this.
Well,
Now,
Samuel Alito upped the ante because he not only released what they claim on him, but he wrote an op-ed for the Wall Street Journal.
He got in front of it,
refuting it,
yeah,
completely, which was great.
Yeah, people say, well, how can he write something that hasn't even come out? Well, I'll tell you, because as someone who went through this, they send you, in his case, 25 questions. In my case, it was, I think, 36 questions. They emailed me.
I'm gonna Google this.
24 hours. They said you need to respond within 24 hours. I believe was what they gave us. Maybe it was 48, but I think they gave Alito a couple of days to respond. So he knew exactly the tenor, because the questions are very obvious.
Oh, here it is, right here. The dark money man, how Sean Noble moved the coaxed cash into politics and made millions.
Yeah, right. So
wow, look at that picture of you. That's a little different,
but it's a long piece, and I've
seen this piece,
and they go,
a long time.
And they do deep dives. I mean, they interviewed one of my former high school teachers. They interviewed high school classmates.
Boy.
They interviewed, obviously, a lot of political people. It was, they went deep. So,
yeah, they're trying to blow up the Supreme Court and push this expansion of the Supreme Court because it's so corrupt.
yeah, and interestingly, this is the classic mainstream media. So Politico covers this, and they say, and I think this might have been also in Axios, but Alito points out that the Wall Street Journal has an editorial that says this is the left reacting to losing power at the Supreme Court, which they had for 50 years.
Yes.
And Politico's like, fact check. The members of the Supreme Court, a majority of the members of the Supreme Court were appointed by Republican presidents for the last 40 or 50 years, whatever. And I was like, well, that's not what the journal said. The journal said that the court has been leftward leaning for decades, and it's just now rightward leaning.
Well,
Because
if
we had
George-
plenty of people who went to the court under Republican presidents who were not conservatives.
who became squishes.
yeah.
Who said one thing.
Kennedy
to-
being the
Kennedy was the
number
big
one.
Well, and Souter,
Souter, yeah. Kennedy worse.
big squish Souter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever happened to him anyway?
Mm,
Anyone know?
no.
You never hear about him.
No.
Yeah. His impact on the court? Do we even know?
No.
No, of course not.
No,
and,
but
and that's who they're going after.
Right,
They're going
they're
after
going-
the most conservative and the most impactful.
Yeah. Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito, two brilliant jurists.
Completely.
And I mean, Clarence Thomas, that guy is super smart and has a phenomenal story and has been a great judge. A great judge.
Well, for years and years, and we've talked about this, Clarence Thomas never asked a question
Right.
in the court. Now he's very animated.
little more animated.
He's a little more animated because he really is the senior justice. I mean,
Right.
there's John Roberts, of course,
Right,
but
but it's
he's
from
the senior
tenure.
justice. Yeah, in
Yeah,
terms of
he is,
tenure,
yeah.
and he's the conservative voice.
Right.
Which Joe Biden, if you recall, tried to torpedo that in a way that was one of the most racist and
Oh, my
disgusting.
As
And that's what got you into politics.
that's what got me into politics.
Yeah, we've
Clarence
talked about it on
Thomas
the show.
was my road to Damascus.
Yeah.
It was. I took time off class my freshman year, 1991, to watch. I watched every minute of the confirmation hearings.
Yeah.
I was riveted.
I just
That's
remember
how much of a nerd I am.
Well, I did the same thing because I was already nerding out for about a decade there, and would do. I would watch the State of the Unions. I'd watched everything, and what I remember most, other than Clarence Thomas's very pointed rebuttal about the high-tech lynching that entire hearing was Joe Biden's smiling, sneering, sniveling approach to those hearings. It was one of the most disgusting things I think I'd ever seen. And from that point, I never liked the guy.
Oh, that's fair.
Just never liked the guy.
That's fair. I mean, the guy was a serial liar.
Well, yeah, he had run for president, and they had, found out
Lie after lie.
Well, and he continues.
Well, is he
unless-
lying or is he just doesn't remember?
Unless the teleprompter is able to, confirm or deny anything, I don't think he has a. Well, when he goes off script, he's certainly.
Well,
lies.
yeah. I mean, and
I don't know why that popped in my head, but it just did. I just have this vision of him, peering over the microphone and up in the dice, just saying, "Welcome, Judge," and he's smiling his smile. And poor Clarence Thomas is fighting for his life.
yeah.
And this woman who's obviously lying, and it's just disgusting.
Yeah.
And now this guy's president of the United States, which is just unfathomable. But you have Republicans who like him. It's amazing.
Do they still?
I don't know, but
I mean,
you always
definitely-
hear
I mean, there will
Republicans
definitely be
who worked with Joe Biden in the Senate, like, I know Joe Biden. I mean, Lindsey Graham was saying it the other day, but do they know him anymore? Because he's not really running things.
Right.
He's just
And he is. He's definitely changed. He's governing very much more left than
anybody thought.
yeah, and then he.
I mean,
then he ran.
Yeah, he's catering to the AOC Sandy Cortez wing.
And yet, they continue to be frustrated with him because he's not
left enough.
So, I don't know. It is. It's a mystery. But what's not a mystery is that his health is deteriorating. His mental
Rapidly.
health is deteriorating. We're watching it in real time. Did you see this video when he was with the Prime Minister from India?
Was that when he said "God Save the Queen"?
No, that was
before?
a week ago.
Okay.
This was.
I get lost in how many times he trails
were
off.
out in front. The band was playing, and I guess he thought that they were about to go into the Star Spangled Banner. Puts his hand on his heart. They start the Indian national anthem, and he just his hand just slowly glides down the front.
I did not see that video.
You could literally watch his mind work in real time. It was taking that long for his brain to process, oh, this is not the national anthem. I shouldn't have my hand over my heart right now. Let me take my hand away from my heart. Slow, 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 slow.
Where's Jill? She'll tell me what to do. Where's Dr. Biden?
It is getting like disturbingly bad with him.
Well, we've talked about it now for about a year consistently, and you saw you know the signs better than anybody because of what you went through with your own dad. And this is not only is a sad thing. I mean, it's bad for the country, and I consistently believe that he's not going to make it to the election, which is why you see a Gavin Newsom doing what he's doing, why you see this heightened tension or attention, I should say, to other possible candidates, because there seems to be like as long as Trump is in it, he's in it. It seems, but if Trump were to go down or his poll numbers were to plummet, which they are going down rather precipitously over the last couple of weeks, you can't see him staying in it.
Yeah, well,
because his health isn't going to work.
Let me point out something that I find very, very fascinating. So you have Joe Biden saying weird things, right? Well, then Axios, which is the organization that Mike Allen and why do I always forget the guy's name? This partner. They were Politico, and they start Axios.
Yeah.
And so there's the newsletter format of the news, smart brevity, and it's good stuff. I'm a subscriber to multiple. That I'm a supporter of
multiple
their local
cities and
their local Axios here in Phoenix. Jeremy Duda and Jessica. Don't remember last name.
they won't come on now.
Well, they weren't anyway.
Yeah.
So the Bohm, right? Jessica, sorry. Anyway, so
Jessica Bohm.
Yeah,
and Jeremy Duda.
They're good reporters.
They're young.
Yeah, well,
they're babies.
Jessica's young. Jeremy's not that young.
Yeah, he's been around a while.
He's been around a while. Anyway, on Father's Day, the morning Axios AM, the Mike Allen newsletter, puts out the top story was one big thing: Biden's weird words. Because this is where you mentioned he ends the speech on gun violence with "God save the Queen, man," and they're like, well, what did he mean by that? Why is he saying that? And they go to great lengths to point out that when he was vice president in January 2017, after he certified Donald Trump's election, he said, "God save the Queen." Then, this must be a kind of like just a saying that he does.
Okay.
And so they go through all these wacky phrases that are, in my mind, very indicative of a mind that is dwindling.
Like corn pop?
Well, the crazy thing was, when he said...
Our producer Robin is laughing, but it's true. Like, what does that mean? I don't even know what corn pop means.
Well, anyway, so the classic one that I heard him say, and then I pointed out to my wife, that's exactly what my dad would have said. when he was like in
Really?
that twilight.
Yeah.
Is it's just like a jumble of words that sounds good, but it's not. It doesn't make any sense. Like he says, he called some voter a lying dog-faced pony soldier. Right?
Which, again, what does that mean?
It's jumble. It's crazy. And there was a phrase before that was also weird. And
Isn't there a website called Bidenisms?
Maybe. But
there
the
was.
whole point of this article was, oh, well, he pulls things out just to be funny. He's got his own, this is his own way of being, here's the bottom line.
Yeah.
According to them. There are legitimate questions about Biden's age and stamina as he runs for a second term, but his offbeat proverbs are just Biden being Biden. So they're literally setting this up as, oh, that's just Biden being Biden. He's not losing his mind.
Yeah,
Come on.
But they've done this from the beginning.
Come on, man.
That's just Uncle Joe. That's just when he says something racist or he says something sexist or he's like sniffing some little girl. Oh, that's just crazy Uncle Joe. Where's Dr. Jill? He doesn't know where he is. He doesn't know what he's saying. They've got to take him, and what isn't being shown in some of those crazy off-put, when he trails off, they have to place him where he's going to go. The Secret Service is always having to direct him where he's going to go. And then after a speech or anything else, he just kind of looks around like, now what do I do? And almost every time he goes off script, he says, they're not going to want me to do this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Right. I'm going to get in trouble.
This is a hostage situation. I'm blinking. Please pay attention.
I'm going to get in trouble, but I'm going to say it anyway.
I mean, that's probably the most truthful thing he says. They don't want me to do this. I'm being honest. Please believe me.
And then if you look at his schedule, which actually I have that
Oh, they
website.
put a lid on his day.
Oh my gosh. He'll have one major event after 10 o'clock of something. And then that's it.
Yeah.
And then it's it's security briefings or like
on a rare occasion he'll do something after 4, but it is rare.
Really rare.
Rare.
Yeah. So he's got the 2 o'clock siesta, the 4 o'clock nap, dinner, and then bedtime.
Well, you got to remember the steroid injections or whatever they're pumping into his body to
and we have our issues with Donald Trump, but one thing that people in the press and friends of ours who knew the president, like I have a buddy, he'd get texts from the president 3 a.m.
Oh,
3 a.m.
I mean,
and you're like,
Trump
my God, go to sleep.
Trump is the guy's a crazy machine. I mean,
but there are CEOs from that generation. This is a business thing too, who are like that. I knew one. I actually, and to his credit, August Bush. Oh my gosh, like 5 a.m.
They're just
churning. They're going all the time. They're thinking all the time. They're thinking about what's going on, what's not going on, what they're missing, what they are missing, what they can control, what they can't control. And August was a lot like that. I mean, if you got torpedoed, you got torpedoed. But one thing, I would get phone calls 5 a.m. You up? Yes, sir. Yeah, which I was. And then he would have a question about something. It was something that we were doing or a product that we were introducing or whatever. And he wanted to know the skinny because he was at a meeting and somebody was telling him something that he didn't agree with. And so he's just like, I'll get him on the phone. I mean, Trump is very much the same way.
I am a believer that if my phone rings before 6 a.m., it's not good news. This happened, and I'll give you an example.
Donald Trump or August A. Bush III, you're like, ooh.
I got a call.
Not that they're in the same category.
This is back. This goes back a long ways. This is when Jane Hull was governor, and I was working with her office and with with the delegation. I was Congressman Shadeg's district director at the time, and we were working on Growing Smarter, which is a project that it had to do with, land preservation and all this kind of stuff. Jack Feaster was involved. There was a lot of Steve Betts, a lot of great people, Maria Baier. But I got in an argument with Carolyn Allen, who was a state senator at the time, down at the Capitol. And I don't even remember what the issue was, but we were having a disagreement. There were reporters, standing around.
Taking
notes.
Back then, they took notes in their
Yeah.
little pads.
And apparently, there was a story in the Arizona Republic the next morning that had a quote from me. And it wasn't something that the governor appreciated.
Ooh.
I don't remember what it was. I don't think I was being critical of her. I might have been critical of something she was pursuing. I don't know.
Or the process, or
Yeah.
whatever it is you
But
were
my
fighting
phone
over.
rang at 5:45, and I picked it up. Sean, this is Jane Hull. Do we have a problem? I was like, I hadn't seen the paper. She woke me up.
You're like, Governor, is your bouffant ready for what we got to discuss?
And as a young staffer who had already been yelled at many times by my boss, John Shattuck,
Yeah.
to be dressed down by someone else.
We need to have him back on so he can yell at both of us.
To be dressed down by somebody else that was the first time in my political career that I'd had that kind of like, I work for someone else and I'm getting yelled at by a higher elected official about something.
Oh. I got yelled at by John McCain in his office.
I can believe that.
Him pounding the desk. No, it was his chair. Yeah.
He mostly just laughed at me.
Who, John?
Yeah. I was just
think
the
I
butt
told
of
a
his
story. I was
jokes.
going into this meeting with John Desser to talk about death tax reform, and McCain was having none of it, and he just laid into me, and I didn't back down, and that just kind of
That only
elevated
made it
things.
worse, yeah.
And Desser's like, okay, all right. He tries to
We're good.
diffuse everything.
Yeah.
But here's a guy I looked up to, and actually I was prepped for the meeting by saying he's not going to budge on this issue because Kyle had his bill going through and he needed John on board, and we were going to go meet with him, and he's not going to budge. He's going to yell at you. I'm like, Kane's not going to yell at me.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Whew. I'll be damned, he said.
Yeah.
He had this whole idea that, Bill Gates and Warren Buffett, that death tax reform was going to have any impact on them versus the family farms and family businesses across the Fruita Plain.
Right.
Which is what we were fighting for.
Yeah. Well,
We can tell stories all day long.
We could tell stories all day long.
I had actually Jane Ho wag her finger at me on some tax or regulatory issue for the beers thing, and we were at something, and she came up to me and she goes, "I've gotten your messages, and I'm going to get back to you." And I'm like, "Yes, ma'am."
But not right now.
Yes, ma'am. And it was like this
you.
big tax fight or something that was going on the beer side, and she made it a point to walk over and wag her finger at me with a big red boof on.
Yeah. That she had.
But I liked her.
Yeah.
I liked Jane.
Not a bad governor.
No, she was a good governor.
Well, covered a bit of ground today.
We did it.
We did it.
Yeah. I don't know how we were going to do it. But so people know that this time in D.C. that we had last Thursday, a week ago, we did 9 podcasts in 9 hours, starting with Dr. James Carafano,
Right.
ending with Ben Domenech. And I remember just saying to Ben, I go, "Hey, buddy, you're going to have to carry us down the finish line."
Yeah. You'll like that one.
And he did.
Be
did
on
great.
the lookout for that one. That was a really good one.
That was a
he's
pleasure.
Just a super
Speaking of
smart
McCain,
guy. Yeah.
who's Ben,
Ben's
those
married
who
to
don't know, is
Megan.
married to Megan.
Yep. They have
And,
two beautiful young children.
Yeah. Next generation. And he was great.
Yeah.
Appreciated him being there. And he's said he may or may not next time they're in town swing by if he has time. If he can break away from the compound on Central Avenue.
Right. All right. Well, thanks everybody.
Yep. Thanks
Have a
for
great
listening.
one.
God bless.
Take care.